Hello, everyone. This post is primarily for Grundy County and uh, Marion County, although right now the motion is away from Marion County. Um, there is a storm. They have just added a severe thunderstorm warning for Grundy County. It's got uh, a warning for 1 inch sized hail and possible gusts of 60-mile-per-hour winds. Um, Usually, I wouldn't just jump on here for a storm like that, but this storm previously, or still has an active tornado warning over here towards the west around, Shady Grove, Wilder Chapel, Rutledge Hill. They have not extended this tornado warning yet. They have only posted a severe thunderstorm warning for that area. But let me make this the primary map. Let's go to the high res velocity. You can see there's some intense rotation with this storm. The storm also has a history of producing large hail around, let's see, we got 2.75 inch hail there, 2.5 inch hail report there as well. So, this storm, as I was getting this ready to post, uh, it had not shown a scan showing it weakening yet, but it is on the course of weakening. However, it is still a strong thunderstorm with the possibility of a tornado. This storm is heading towards Pelham, Tennessee, Interstate 24. Let me get some timing lines up on here. So it'll be around Interstate 24 around 5:02 p.m. Probably a little bit earlier than that. Probably 4. Hold on. Sorry, I'm jumping into this and I'm getting recoordinated here. So it is storming around I-24 now, right at the Highway 64 exit. The worst part of this storm will be there in about 5 minutes. So that puts it around 5:06 p.m. The next scan does show it weakening as well. Um, it is moving like east northeast towards Pelham, also Betsy Willis, um, Highway 41, Interstate 24, around Highway 64. Um, I wanted to jump on and show this storm and keep an eye on it for a minute. After this storm is done, I will be stepping off of the stream and then creating a new stream for like a map display of updates for this evening. Uh, but I wanted to cover this storm first. This is a pretty textbook looking supercell storm here. You've got the anvil formation. You kind of get this V shape. You've got this circular appendage near the back. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the dual view here. So we are still seeing that storm have some pretty strong, rotation within the storm. Does not mean that there's a tornado, and that rotation is not what I'm talking about. What I mean is the storm itself has spin to it. Now we do have this tight little couplet right here of rotation displayed. It's currently near Spur Road and Bennett Cemetery Road, near Oak Grove and Roark Cove. This is a possible display of a tornado. However, we're seeing a lot of there are things that happen with the radar through here, especially because of into the terrain, the plateau, how close it is to the radar. We're getting a new scan in here. I would say anybody within the Pelham area. Um, I would say anybody from the Monteagle area up to Betsy Willis needs to use caution. Even though there's only a severe thunderstorm warning for this storm, it does look like it is keeping a good, strong formation to it. And there's some clutter on the velocity radar. Let's switch to a different radar map. Let's go to the high res. Okay, so when we go off the base velocity and go to the high res relative, it does not show as much rotation. That's a good thing. And that would be why they only brought in a severe thunderstorm warning on this storm. We are still seeing kind of a tight little ball right in here just east of Roark Cove. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. That's it's not very fast moving, strong rotation, but it's kind of tight in here, and that is what we call a mesocyclone. So mesocyclones can be a precursor to a tornado. The fact that this storm's keeping such a good shape to it may mean it may be getting ready to re-strengthen. So we're going to keep a close eye on it. Got some questions on here I'm going to jump to real quick. I'm going to question, is it moving towards Saudi? This storm is an hour and a half away from Hamilton County, and we'll have to keep an eye on it to see what it does between now and then. I do see severe thunderstorm warnings been extended down into Marion County and Sequatchie County as well. So if that storm keeps on track, it looks like it'll probably go to the north side of Saudi Daisy, but that'll be about an hour and a half from now, which would be 6:30, 6:20 p.m. So, you know, that's a long way away. We did lose kind of that ball formation on the back. It kind of got swept in. So we're going to keep an eye on it. All right, so I did just post an update just a short time ago. You can go to the featured section, and it's on there. It's current. I'm going to take off anything. The only things that should be under the featured section, other than the normal information, will be that update and this live. And then once this storm dissipates, I will remove it, and I'll film kind of what I see in conditions later on. All right, so I've pinned this live to featured now. So if anybody jumps in, you can tell them where to go. We did see a decrease in rotation with this most recent scan. We still have that characteristic of a mesocyclone back in there. You can see, let me zoom in for those of you looking on the phone, this kind of V shape in here, this little gap. That's kind of where, you know, the storm's feeding. So this storm does seem to be on the downhill side. We're going to keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't re-strengthen. It may fade out. This storm formed quite a while ago, and it's had a couple of tornado warnings. So keep a close watch. We do have further to the west. This is a really strong storm. We've seen hail as large as 3 1/4 inches reported within this storm. This is back near on the southwest end of Nashville, kind of like from the outskirts of Nashville, the perimeter. It's, you know, the front of the storm's about 14 and a half miles away. the main strong portion of the storm is about 24 miles away. So if you know people who live in that area, especially south of Nashville, you know, the Franklin area, um, Laverne, Murfreesboro, even, because that'll be, you know, a couple of hours away, but it's a very strong storm. You may want to give them a heads up that there's a storm headed in their direction. It looks like the tornado warning associated with this storm is probably going to not be updated like they did down here where we are. They haven't updated the tornado warning, and they've issued a severe thunderstorm warning, but that is a very large size storm. That's one that, you know, we'll keep an eye on. That's hours away from our area, but sometimes that's how you have to start. We do have some small little spotty storms up here. It's out around Watts Bar, making its way in that direction. It's probably pretty close now because time has gone by since this radar scan. That will not head in our direction. It's kind of skim across the top of the coverage area. And we now see even more loss of that large scale rotation with this storm coming in on the south side of Pelham. So that's good news. Looks like this storm's going to continue to weaken. I'll let it go another couple of scans. Keep an eye on things. Make sure there's not large hail that's going to build up or it's not going to re-strengthen. And then if I see it, then we will come back to it. I was sitting here looking through the maps and planning my video update and started getting some questions. You know, people who are out in areas asking me questions, and as I was looking at it for them, I saw that it was approaching the area, so I kind of jumped on quickly. All right, let's look at some other questions here on the comments. Coco says that they're driving through this right now. Luckily, as it made its way towards 24, it got a lot weaker. So when's the storm gonna lighten up so you can get home to Ringgold? I'm assuming, Coco, that you're on I-24. You've got probably 10, 15 minutes and it'll be completely clear. And now if you're on this lower half of where this storm is crossing, so if you're past Providence, then you can go ahead and start making your way out. Let's see here. Yes, Grundy is included in the area that I'll watch. If you're ever curious about what areas I cover, sometimes I'll reach out to other areas, but the areas that I cover diligently are listed within the features section of the Facebook group. If you click on featured and then scroll, there's a set of 3 maps, and it shows the areas that I cover within Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Coco, you're asking when the storm is going to dissipate. You know, that's really kind of hard to tell as far as this storm goes. It's on its way to weakening. It may refire. It may continue to go down, which would probably be 45 minutes or so before it would actually kind of make its way out. But if you were traveling home to Ringgold on I-24, it's going to be out of your area within about 15 minutes. So probably 5:30, definitely by 5:30. And Victoria, back to your question. This, like I said, this is Grundy County that I'm looking at right now as we speak. Still seeing loss and rotation. and the storm getting smaller and weaker. It's actually almost completely away from I-24 now. It is not moving along I-24, so you should be able to continue on. There's At this point, there's no other storms approaching your drive, Coco. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the velocities map so we can see. I'm working on some strategies to make this better viewable. I know a lot of you get on here on your cell phones. I know it can be hard to see. Uh, so I'm going to. I've got some things that I'm working on. I'm going to do what I can to make it easier for you to see. Oh, okay, Victoria, you were asking about the storms later. Uh, I, I did have to repost that update and completely rewrite it because as I went to post it, it disappeared. I don't know what happened. So I apologize if I missed discussing Grundy County. I'm going to go check. I'm checking right now and add it in. Okay. Oh, okay. I see why. So, Victoria, sometimes I do this. I kind of group together the central time zone counties in Tennessee and sometimes Jackson County right there in Alabama. Um, because storms, as they travel as a squall line, they typically hit those counties all at the same time. So, I'll try to be more clear about that. But that is why it did not specifically list Grundy County. Gary, I'd already kind of touched on this. This storm may make its way toward Saudi Daisy, but right now it's on its way to weakening. It may re-strengthen. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But if it does, it'll probably be around. Looking at it now, so 7:30, 7:45. We are seeing a little bit more development right here in the core. It means we're getting some fresh, uh, warm, moist air in here. This is what we call a hail core being developed. We start to see these purples, and it can also be an indication that the storm is starting to cycle back up and re-strengthen. Right now, it's currently around Klaus Hill. It's going to be making its way towards State Route 56 north of Sanders Crossing. Uh, so north of Sanders Crossing, heading in the direction of Flat Branch. That's the strongest section of this storm. The entire storm itself will be kind of from Colmont down to Tracy City. We're going to keep an eye on the south kind of corner of this storm. With it re-strengthening, I'm going to go ahead and pull the velocity map back up. We are seeing some gusty winds with this storm as well. So last time it was reported, so it's still possible 60 mile per hour wind gust. I would expect to see some larger hail reports within this storm as well with this core reforming. It had been reported around Valley Home around an inch in size. Stephen, reading the radar, it's difficult. It takes a lot of practice. And it's one of those things where it's like learning a new language where if you don't use it, you lose it. And then when you get in the downtime between storm seasons, it kind of falls off. I'm getting better at explaining radar stuff on here. Sometimes it's hard for me to kind of say what's going on and, put it on here because all of this is kind of stuck in my head. I don't know how many of you know somebody with ADHD or have it, but it's definitely me. So getting it from the brain to the mouth can be difficult. Is it safe to drive back from Grundy to Ringgold? Yes. Coco, you never really let me know if you're on I-24. I assume you are. Um, but if that is the case, yeah, you're safe to drive home on I-24. If you are taking a different route, like going over the mountains, I would probably wait a little while longer, probably 5:40, 5:45. We are starting to see a little bit more of a shape to this storm again. So we're going to keep an eye on it. It looks like we've got some kind of gust out here around Tracy City, maybe even a reforming of a mesocyclone. If you're just kind of joining in, a mesocyclone, it's something that you hear me say, and I always try to discuss it for a second because we frequently have new people on here. It is a characteristic of a supercell thunderstorm, and it can be a precursor to a tornado. So you start to see a little bit of that when you get this little gap. And so I know a lot of you've probably heard the term hook echo before, and you kind of have that hook coming off the bottom of a storm. But it depends on which direction it's going in. Sometimes you get some weird storm motion. But anyways, it's typically going to be on the southwest side of a storm that's moving kind of east or northeast. So in kind of that gap section between where that hook comes down and the main storm itself would be the area where a mesocyclone would be present. And we look for, a lot of times you just kind of look for these colors that are not typical. Typical would be kind of the reds, different shades of reds and greens. When you start to see orange and blue, that indicates that real tight rotation where it's kind of detecting winds moving in multiple directions at the same time within a small area. You're in Jasper, Tennessee. Well, Victoria, Griffin. It depends on what time you're planning on leaving Jasper. As far as risk for the storms later on tonight, Ulua is going to be the safer choice. The further west you are within this, the stronger the storms are going to be. They're going to kind of, lose their steam as they approach. So if you had to choose between Jasper and Ulua, and right now there's nothing out there on the route between the two, I would say go to Ulua. Crystal, yeah, tell you what, while we're kind of sitting here keeping a close eye on this storm, but we're between scans, I will for a second pull up what the model is showing at the moment. I do plan on doing a video live update of the conditions later this evening. Probably right when I get done with covering this specific storm, because I don't want it to get lost. Some people prefer the videos, and I don't want it to get lost within the information from this storm. So, but real quick, kind of some advanced information. So here we have 9 p.m. We have, some rain, maybe some prefrontal storms kind of working in, but a lot of the threat really comes in to Hamilton County right here at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, it's making its way into Saudi Daisy, Red Bank, Sale Creek, Dallas Bay. We do see a little bit of bouncing back and forth between the storm being more of a squall line, like a solid line down through, and these more individual cells. Um, as far as tornado threat goes, we would prefer a squall line, but squall lines sometimes they can produce stronger gusts. So it's kind of like a pick your poison situation. You're asking about, does it look like it's going to hit Whitwell? Um, I don't know which storm you're asking about. If it's going to hit Whitwell, the one that we're looking at right now, out towards Tracy City, or the storms later tonight. So I'll just kind of show both. Tonight, we're looking at a storm section being kind of close to Whitwell around, um, I'd say about 9:30. It, this is not absolutely defined as far as where these little cells are going to develop. So don't look at those specifically. The kind of a broad area. But yeah, so around 9:30. Well, I'm sorry, 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. The storms will make their way into Louisville. But the storm that I'm covering right now, and let's go back to it, will not come towards Louisville. It is staying a little bit more in the east direction instead of the more northeast direction it was traveling earlier. So we've had some shift in path, and we are seeing a more defined formation now. Let's go back to the velocities map. We're starting to pick, we still have some mesocyclone characteristic in here, and it looks like it's becoming better formed. When you see this little triangle with the red circle right here, that's actually what that's indicating. The mesocyclone slash tornadic vortex signature. They're similar characteristics. So I would say if you're between Tracy City, if you're in this top section of Marion County at all, prepare for a dangerous storm to head into your area. Right now, we're only showing gusts around 60 miles per hour and some larger, increasingly large size hail, but we may be getting ready to see another tornado warning issued. It's probably right at the edge of Grundy County and Marion County as we speak. We're also seeing, a lot of development of hail within this storm. So I would anticipate the storm producing some really good size hail, 1.5 to 2.5 inches coming. Those reports should be coming up within the next scan. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that. Again, if you are really, I would say anywhere between Grootley Logger and Whitwell, beware that there is a strong storm heading to the east. I want to give a wide span in case if this shifts its path a little bit, because it seems to be moving more directly to the east now. And we're watching, this rotation within this storm, looking to see if it's going to continue to strengthen and possibly produce another tornado warning. Okay, so Wade says that the storm that was around Tracy City, that it's kind of showing. Hold on a second. The current one in Tracy, Whitwell, is in North Marion County. Yeah, Whitwell's in North Marion County, but it's not within this section that it looks like. Now, I'm talking about kind of the proper area of Whitwell. You may be on the outskirts out here around, Red Hill, um, I would say you're kind of within the possibility, but it is drifting slightly to the north, so I don't see it hitting the main area of Whitwell or Powell's Crossroads, Suck Creek. Lafayette, Georgia. So there's nothing going on anywhere within my coverage area except for this storm. And right now, I'm just going to continue to cover this storm. I will talk about the conditions later on tonight in a separate live that I'll do here in a little while. Um, if I don't get a chance to do that because this storm stays strong and keeps moving across, I also have posted a text update just a little while ago, and it's current. It is within the what do they call it? The featured section. You can always look in the featured section, and it'll display the most recent updates that I've given on the Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, sorry. If you're on YouTube and you don't have Facebook, I apologize. I do have a resource coming soon where you'll be able to go without using Facebook and look at text updates. So, still working on a lot of things. We are seeing this section of the storm kind of make its way out. It's looking like a pretty good supercell, maybe on its way to decreasing in strength again. A lot of times these storms will continue to cycle, strong, they'll get weak a little bit, then they'll strengthen again, they'll get weak. And so far, that's what this storm has historically done. So, still showing on the relative velocity map, this character of rotation, this mesocyclonic area. It's going to be within this gap right here on this storm. Again, this can be a precursor to a tornado, but it does not always mean that there will be one. I'm going to check my phone real quick. Make sure that I had some people out in different areas. I'm wanting to make sure to keep up with them. Some people that live in the Hamilton County and the other areas I cover that were making their way through commuting or working in other areas. Okay. So, just to kind of refresh, I know that we've had a large growth of people coming in over the last couple of days. A couple of little housekeeping things while we're watching this storm, but nothing's really changed at the moment. We have the featured section in the Facebook group, which will give you all kinds of information about kind of things, who I am, the area that I typically cover, just some information. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Featured section has some of that, as well as the most recent updates. Guides is going to be your biggest resource for information about other things within the group. We try to keep the main Engle Weather Service page as just weather updates and conditions and forecasting, so that way people know that it's primarily going to be that on that page. I know a lot of people kind of get anxious. They see a notification from the group, and so I don't want to add to the stress. Every once in a while, I'll post just an update on things outside of the weather or a piece of information or some housekeeping. Um, there is a second group on Facebook called Engle Weather Service, the Sunny Side. That is a place where you can go and post your pictures, talk about things. You can go on there. That's kind of the social side of this. So it keeps everything clear on the main page. You can also find me on YouTube. Everything's going to be Engle Weather Service. You can pull any of the lives that I do up on there, and also I repost any of the live forecasts that I do in the video section, so you can go and check those out. I know a lot of people have told me they like the YouTube side because they can put it up on their TV real easily and just kind of keep it on while they do other things. Sometimes you'll hear sounds in the background like kids crying or laughing. I do have two kids, and life goes on, so I always try and keep things as clear as possible, so you can hear things well. But life happens, and we have fun. If you are new in here, welcome. I appreciate you coming and checking the group out. We try and do good work here and post only good information as far as the weather goes. As far as that, to continue with that information, this storm has started to weaken even more. We're still seeing, I know I'm saying we're seeing like a little, rotation mesocyclonic area. To put it on the map, that's going to be, right within this area. So right over where you see Cane Mountain. Those looking to improve their skills at reading radar, wanting to learn things like that. That's an indication of what to look for. Sometimes you have a lot of artifacts. You see this down through here. You kind of learn to read through that. We are getting into a more clear area. The closer you are to the radar, the more distorted it's going to be. So we are making our way away from the radar now. And you'll hear some music sometimes pop up. That's when somebody subscribes to YouTube. That sound happens. I was going to get rid of it, but a lot of people came in and said that they kind of liked it. It was a feature that I didn't realize was turned on. And I was like, oh, I'll get rid of it. I don't want it to be distracting. And everybody was like, no, keep it. We like it. So. So Lori, yeah, Ottawa and Collegedale tonight. Nothing's really changed from my last text update. We're going to keep watching. For Ottawa, Collegedale area, there is some risk. I think the risk is going to primarily be, the strong wind gusts coming off of the storms. But we're going to keep a close eye, make sure that that's all we have. Yeah, Lori, thank you for your work as a teacher too. I appreciate it. So as I was saying a little bit earlier, I just had a question about Sequatchie County, and I do need to go ahead and say before I babble more. This storm is starting to make its way into Sequatchie County. One second, I want to move some things around on my desktop. anyways, okay, so this storm is starting to make its way into Sequatchie County right now. It's heading towards, directly towards Dunlap. I would say from Brush Creek down to Lone Oak. Use caution. The strongest section of this storm is heading towards the Center Point area. And let's get a judgment on, what time we're looking at. All right, so we're moving at 33 knots. New scan. So the 33 miles per hour. The stronger section of this is going to be at Deus around 11 minutes from now. For some reason, it's only reading that area. But yeah, so 10 minutes from now is, about 5:50. So we're going to be right here around 5:50. Bryant, Deus, Cartwright. And so about 5:55, we'll start making it towards Dunlap. This storm is currently cycling down again. It's keeping a pretty good shape, but it is starting to lose that rotation on the southeast side. We have seen a decrease in its size. So this storm may be starting to lose what it has. We want to see this thing continue to weaken and then dissipate. We were lucky it really kind of dropped in strength right before it got to the coverage area. If this continues on right now, there has not been an updated severe thunderstorm warning past, this initial part of Sequatchie County. So, if this storm goes through another couple of scans, I probably don't think that will continue to be updated. Right now, the big area right in here, Dunlap, Deus, Bryant, Center Point, up to Brush Creek. None of these areas are within a severe thunderstorm warning, and we'll kind of keep an eye on it to see. The most recent severe thunderstorm warning is still stating, the possibility of hail around 1 inch and wind gusts around 60 miles per hour. We are seeing a little bit more of this pink back here in this corner with that report of 1 inch hail. Yep, so 1 inch. That section of stronger, it's going to be some hail. There's probably going to be some wind gusts right at this edge. It's going to be heading right towards Palmer within the next probably about 10 minutes now. So about 5:50, 5:55, somewhere around there. Believe it or not, this storm is still showing signs of weakening, even though we kind of saw an increase in this hail. Just the formation of it, it's losing its shape, and that's an indication that it is weakening. All right, back to some questions. Husband out of town, 2 small kids. I think there's any moments we will have to dash to a closet. For Apison, I don't think so. I would say have an area prepared, but I don't think we're going to have a tornado threat in the Apison area tonight. I think it's going to be primarily strong winds. I do want to say, Laura, and really everybody, I want to caution you on saying things in a Facebook group like, "Hey, my husband's out of town and it's me and my two small kids." Be careful about what information you put out there. I'm going to treat everybody the same, and so you don't feel like you need to give me extra information. If I can find a question and answer it, I will. So, yeah, I just want everybody to stay safe, and unfortunately, there are bad people in the world. Do I think the Lookouts will get to play tonight? I'm guessing it's a 7:15 um, game time. That's usually when they start. Um, got a little bit of rain coming into the area right now. It's real light. It looks like it's not at the stadium. Just kind of passing by Cameron Hill. Um, I'd say that there's a chance that they'll get to play. The Lookout Stadium's kind of a cool stadium to be at when it storms too. I've been stuck out there in that area uh, during storms before in the past, and um, no, it's I don't know why. It's just kind of an interesting place to hang out when it gets rained out. Being a smaller town, I love going to Lookouts games because you still get that real small town feel, even though we've had a lot of growth in the area. We do have some little spots of rain popping up in Hamilton County. Keep a close eye, make sure they don't rapidly develop into a storm cell. We do have some, air movement through this area because we do have this storm up here. Alex is asking, what app do I use? I use a lot of different apps for the weather. Primarily, what I use is Radar Omega. That's what I have up on the screen right here. There are a lot of different levels depending on how much you want to spend and what you want to be able to do. It's really user friendly and quick, which is nice for being able to jump on here and give people quick information. But user friendly also means people who are learning, getting into it. It's easier to learn. So we're seeing a little bit of a better formation within this storm again. So it looks like it's smaller, but it's going to continue to cycle a little bit stronger. It's also slowing down, it seems. Yeah, that storm's slowing down. Slowing down doesn't absolutely mean anything. Sometimes it kind of lets it sit within an area that's got stronger available energy. Sometimes it lets it eat that energy up and then it dissipates. Slowing down can also mean even though it's kind of reshaping, it's still continuing to weaken. And that's a massive storm up there. And they've had some monster size hail. On the south end of Nashville, 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches. Earlier, I saw a 3.75-inch hail report. But in our coverage area, we still just have this one sole little cell. It's not very little. It's becoming smaller. But that's the only thing going on. And like I say, I'm going to continue and cover it until any severe threats, all severe threats are gone. And then I'm going to jump off of this stream, set up another stream, and go in and give a update as far as what I'm seeing on the map for tonight. I'll be kind of winging it because likely the models have changed since I looked at them last. I do see a lot of people coming in here and asking, what about Ooltewah? What about Epson? What about Ooltewah? What about Epson? What about Ringgold? What about Ringgold? This stream right now is really discussing this storm, and I'll update on conditions here in a little while. Now, if we do have power outages and storms, have one of our area dispatchers jump in and say, do not call 911 for power outages. That's true. 911 is for emergencies only. The only time a power outage could pose an emergency would be if there's some sort of medical device that is, keeping somebody alive. And even in that case, the best thing to do would be call the non-emergency number. Those are available online. But yeah, 911 is for emergencies. It is not for, my power's out and I can't watch TV. The thing is, if we have a storm that's knocking out power, there other things could be happening, and there could be somebody with a real emergency that's trying to get through to get that help that they need, and you be blocking them from that. We don't want that to happen. All right, so as I said earlier, even though this storm's kind of regaining its shape, it's getting smaller, and now the most recent velocity scan is showing that kind of mesocyclonic area that was located around Griffith Creek is almost completely gone. So what I believe is happening is this storm is in the process of dying. It's become slower, it's become smaller, it's losing its rotation, multiple characteristics show it decreasing and dying out. So I want to give another warning to, this area. It may not move much more, so area from Palmer down to Griffith Creek over towards Deas, Dunlap, right here in this section, we start to get a thing called a downdraft. That happens with a rapidly dying storm. What happens is, this is the ground. Let's see, make sure the camera picks it up. This is the ground. The storm's up above here, and we have all this energy in this storm. And then as the storm dies, it's all kind of hanging right there. When I say energy, it means, wind and hail and rain and just everything that was contained in that storm. And as it dies, it can all drop out at the same time. It's just kind of like an air bomb, and goes down and it hits the ground and then spreads out in all directions. So that's what a downdraft is. And they can be very intense. In a small area, they can do a decent amount of damage. So I always want to caution people that, that may happen within a stronger storm like this. We're still seeing this gap right in here, this mesocyclonic indicating gap, and we are still seeing a little bit different. There's a little bit of indication right there, so we may just continue to see this storm power through. We did lose that severe thunderstorm warning that was to the west. We have not gotten an updated severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of Sequatchie County. So it's kind of a waiting game right now. Let me look at the last couple of scans here. It is becoming pretty well defined again, so we may see one more re-strengthening of this and then it relax. I'll tell you what, while we are just at a severe thunderstorm warning that has already been posted, we don't have anything new and nothing's really changing at the moment. I'm going to take just a second. I'm going to grab a glass of water because I kind of jumped into this stream. So I will be right back. Oh, let's let this. Okay. All right. Now that we've gotten the new scan just now, I'll say it does continue to show weakening. And now I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Um, got me some water, talked to the kids for a second, and just kind of as I anticipated, we do have continued weakening of this storm. This storm is on its way to dying, especially as it approaches the plateau right here. It's going to kind of disrupt its flow too. We do have an updated severe thunderstorm warning for Sequatchie County, moving towards Hamilton County and the south end over here of Bledsoe County. I don't really know if the storm's going to reach that area, but we'll continue to kind of keep an eye on it. I want to make sure this one continues to die out. that severe thunderstorm warning, it's for your little, basic wind gusts, 60 miles per hour. Those can be hazardous, so be careful. And we do have still some potential for some 0.75 inch hail. Hail's not really considered severe until it reaches an inch, but it could ding your car and it can hurt. So nobody likes ice falling from the sky. Jump back in here. So I am seeing more questions about how areas are going to look tonight. Again, I am covering this storm right now, and I'm going to jump in this stream when this storm kind of calms down, and then I will make a video update. If you're wanting, an idea of what conditions are going to be before I create a video update, if you go to the featured section of the Facebook group, I do have a typed out a text version of the update already up, and that is still current at the moment. So got a little bit of a rainy section down here in Red Bank. We'll keep an eye on that as we continue to watch this storm kind of die out, coming in on the south side of Dunlap. It looks like we are completely clear of Marion County now. I may go, even though there's still a warning out on this storm, everybody's kind of been made aware of it. And we'll probably go 1 or 2 more scans to see, make sure that it's not going to re-strengthen, hit some stable or some unstable air. Yeah, so that was a weaker scan there. So I want to make sure it's not going to hit some unstable air and kind of blossom back up. We'll go 1 more scan, and then I will go ahead and end this stream. I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to go and set up another stream that's going to be an update on conditions for tonight in all the different areas that I cover. So that will be a forecast stream rather than a stream on conditions currently. The reason why I'm going to do that is I'm able to take that and pin that where people can go and see it. They don't have to fast forward through a bunch of coverage of this storm. I want to make sure that is available, for people to be able to get a hold of quickly. I'm also doing it so that way I can create a video on YouTube, because I can take that separate and create a video and post it on there as well. So for those of you who do not know, I am on YouTube as well now, Engle Weather Service on there. A lot of people like the functionality of being able to pull up YouTube on their TV easily and keep track of things. I can kind of put it up on a TV somewhere, and it can be easier to watch than a Facebook Live. So yeah, go and join in there. I am going to continue to see or to look at different other options of places to stream. I recently upgraded my internet. Thanks to the donations from y'all for the work that I've done. I took a portion of that, the cost of increasing my internet from where I keep it normally to, faster internet, so I'm able to stream without lagging and get that information out. Let's see here. Those who've been watching Josh's live, I've hopped in live. What's coming? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. We do continue to see this storm weakening. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning on it for a possibility of some 60 mile per hour wind gusts. I'm going to start that new stream for updates on conditions tonight, and then if I need to touch back on this storm at the very end, I will. So we'll see you in a moment.